Basic Search Engine Optimization 101, introducing new Google Shopping. Welcome to the room. We are very excited about this topic. You know why? Because there's something new that I don't know if you've heard about it or seen it, but there's something called Google Shopping. And with Google Shopping, I know you've seen it before. I know you've heard of it before, but what you probably haven't seen is what's happening now when it comes to their interface. And I just thought that this would be perfect for us to, you know, look at, especially if we want to start thinking about Google Shopping. And I I am bringing this up because I know a lot of people want to learn about how to do this. What is this about? Does this even help? Is there something about it? Yes, there is. Actually, this link, huh? I would say, let me see if this is even better. I think I'm going to change it to this instead. Just give me a minute. I want to make sure you guys can enjoy what you're looking at the top. I like structure. There we go. All right. So here we go. Google. Wow, this is actually dope. I've just seen something. Okay, cool. Welcome to Room. Good morning. Yeah, that link doesn't work exactly. So I wanted to make sure I changed it. So I just changed the link right now so you can click it at the top. Thank you for letting me know. Appreciate you, Chukudum, Anna, Yaha, Vanita. Appreciate you for being here. We're going to talk about Google Shopping. I know it's like, huh? Well, my plan was to do another topic today for email marketing. Yeah, okay, yes. Yeah, appreciate you. Thank you so much. When I looked at the topic, I said, okay, I want to talk about probably email marketing, but we've been handling, basic SEO 101 all week. And I said, okay, right now it makes sense to talk about shopping because that's what everybody is doing. So email marketing, not everyone is doing it, but everybody is receiving emails. So let me focus on emails on Monday because people already know what they want to do with their emails. But when it comes to shopping, people are still trying to decide what they want. So I said, okay, where you can learn about the shopping and what it means for you or to you, especially if you have a business or a brand that needs to be on a platform like this. So if that is you and you have a business, you have a brand, you have something online that you want to publish and have as a product, then I want you to know that this room is going to help you understand how to even end up on Google Shopping, right? And I always say it starts from your website. Anything you see on Google Shopping today is because it's existing on an existing website. That's the only reason why. If not, then it's not existing. And yours could have seen it happen countless times. It's possible. People think it's rocket science, but it's really structure and strategy. So dive into that today. Hey, Brian, happy Thanksgiving. How are you? Welcome to the room. And happy Friday, too. Days are flying by fast. Brian, you there?
Yeah, time is flying by. Happy Thanksgiving. Wow, it's already Friday. It's crazy.
It's wild. It's wild. Like yesterday, I was looking at the time. I'm like, it's already 4 o'clock. Like, what? Time is already going back so fast. I'm like, yeah, we definitely gotta, do this and talk about this more. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, it was 5:30. I was in a food coma, and I thought it was like 10 o'clock at night here on the East Coast. It gets dark really early, and I was ready to go to bed.
I was feeling that too, man. I was feeling that too, for sure. No, I'm definitely excited about today's room. Hey, Trillionaire Goddess, thanks for being here. What's up, Hidden? Welcome to the room. How
Hey
y'all
guys, how you
doing?
doing today?
Good. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you
What's
too.
going on? How everybody doing?
Good. I'm good. Thanks for being here, y'all. This is exciting. Before we get started, I just want to let you know that one, I appreciate you. If you've never heard that from me before, let this be the first time. If it isn't the first time, I appreciate you for being here and spending your holiday weekend, with us because, it's very important to look at the time we're in and the spaces we're in and the connections we're in. And I think this is one of those exciting times to discuss some things like this that can really give us insight. So, when these rooms are open now, I see a lot of people come in and they learn a lot. And I'm so grateful for each and every one of you as well. So, as the room is getting settle, please share the room out, share the room with your friends. We're going to have a really deep talk today about Google Shopping. I didn't plan to have this room until I saw something. I intended to have another room, which I pushed to Monday, but I said I'll use this today because everybody's shopping. So we're going to talk about it today. Awesome. Hey, John. Hey, Eman. Happy Friday. How are you?
Happy Friday, everybody. How are you? I'm doing fine. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Friday, one doing great.
Glad to have you here. Glad to have you here. Vanita, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Happy Friday. Blessings to everyone on the platform and in the room. Hope everybody enjoyed their holiday.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate you. Yes, we are here to, have a really good time to talk about some really good things. And I'm so excited about this topic. Super excited. If anyone has clicked on this link, I'm sure you're probably seeing something new. It will probably tell you welcome to Google Shopping. Yes, let's go. We're 350K members up here. and and I'm really excited, really, really super, super excited because I've been talking about basic SEO all week. And what I've come to understand with SEO is consistency is key. If I kept switching topics, switching topics, switching topics, the room would not be looking like this. So there's semantics, there's structure, and I'm looking at it from a very scientific standpoint, but also from a very creative view. So this is exciting to see. And I said, hey, let's talk about Google Shopping today. And if anyone's thinking about getting their SEO, their technical, anything to do with solution based services, I've put my link in the chat and you'll be able to. I'm going to put the code where you're going to get up to 50% off to the SEO mastermind that we have because there's some things in there that we're going to talk about later. But I want us to focus on the topic today, but also pay attention to the link in the chat because if you want more insights on this, I'm going to be doing an actual workshop, masterclass for the mastermind so that people who want to really know how to use this can visually see it. Because when you're shopping, you're looking at things. You're not shopping blindly. You can be window shopping, but you're shopping with an intention. So we're going to talk about those things and we're going to cover that today. So who has ever used Google Shopping? Put a one in the chat. If you have, put a two in the chat. And I don't mean by shopping online. I just mean like going there, looking at stuff, checking prices, seeing what's available, before you go to your store. Let's see. One. Okay. Junior one. Okay. I don't see the code. I'm going to put the code in the chat. I just want to give you guys a quick insight. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to put the code in the chat for you guys. Let's see. I'm getting it for you. It's called turkey saving, but there's a way I put it that's very specific so that you can, have it. I'm not much of a shopper. Yeah, John, when we talked about it's so funny. Brian's gift is the exact opposite of you, John, because you say you don't like shopping on Amazon, and I didn't know you don't like much of a shopper in general. Please, let's hear how do you like to shop? If I mean, I don't know.
I'll be honest with you. When I do, my wife does 98% of all the shopping. So around this time of year, I do holiday shopping. Once I make up my mind what I'm going to get, I go to the store, I get it. I don't care if it's $5 cheaper somewhere else. I just want to be in and out. I'm like a hunter killer. I go in, I don't talk to anybody, I grab it, I pay for it, and I leave.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is
But
good.
that doesn't mean I'm not open to other people doing that. So that's why I'm hanging out. I want to learn about this.
Okay, okay. I love this. Okay. This is exciting. I'm excited. Brian, you're the exact opposite.
Yeah, I mean, my wallet is empty right now because I start my Christmas shopping like early October. So I beat the Lions, I beat the Friday traffic, I beat Black Friday traffic, Cyber Monday traffic. I think what's really cool, Favor, about Google Shopping, okay, is that, we had a big audience coming in here. Maybe when we said this, they kind of weren't interested in it. But Google Merchant Center, you can open up like a brand new account on Google Merchant Center, and it's a free tool that actually allows you to put your products up there on Google Shopping. And I think that's pretty cool, and you can link right to your website, you can upload files. You can actually, I think, sell products directly from Google Shopping, if I'm right. But you can have your products right up on there. And as like a marketer and someone who maybe has an e-commerce store or sells digital products, even, I think I might not be right with that, but Google Merchant Center, you can have a free account and it's accessible to anyone for absolutely free if you have a Google account. I mean, am I right in saying that? I'm not sure.
You're spot on. You're right. You're so right on that. And why it's so important is that it's free. Like it's the craziest thing, but it's the most underrated feature. I think for me, when I look at Google, Google Shopping is underrated because that's where people go to shop. That like if there are 8.5 billion searches per day and the world population is a little bit over 8 billion, how do you measure your success by looking into the percentage of the market share that you have when it comes to your product? Because some people may say, I don't have a product, so how am I going to be on Google Shopping? Well, you can have an ebook that could be there. You could have t-shirts that could be there. You could have podcast quotes that could be in form of a diary that could be there. Your best moments. Like there are so many ways we're going to talk about it today because when you look at shopping online, people do a lot of window shopping and do price matching because they also want to think about leveraging cashback opportunities, thinking about coupons, think about their price history, think about price matching. That's what people mostly do, including me, right? You go online, you see, okay, this costs 2069, the other one costs 1950. What's the benefit? What's the cost? What's the like you start doing all those math in your head because you want to figure out what's the best experience and what's my best return, like what's the best thing back for me. So it's really important to look at Google that way. And why is this super important? Because that everybody is where most people miss out. It's crazy. Because I'm just looking at it from this picture just to share this with you, just to share this with you. When you have a website, that's why I always say websites are important for a reason. When you have a website, your website could either be a portfolio website or it could be a yeah, follow up. Thanks for the clarification, hidden. It could be two things. It could be a portfolio website where you have like your links, you have your media files, you have your resources, you have your about section. People can connect with you, right? Now that's a portfolio website. Now which is non-e-commerce. Now, when you turn it on to e-commerce, you're turning on things like payment integrations. You're turning on, you know, privacy policies. You're turning on return policies. You're turning on terms of service. Like you still have those things as a portfolio side, but it's not going to be as heavy because when you're running Facebook ads, Instagram ads, they're going to ask you to put your privacy policy before you publish that ad. And you have to also accept the terms and conditions of the Meta Facebook leads agreement if you want to get leads from Facebook ads, for example. So it's the same thing when you go to Google Shopping, when you have products, you have product labels, right? This is a product, this is a price, this is a color, this is a size. Those are things that are on your website. It's not just an image, it's not just a link, it's a product. So if that product is not structured correctly on the website, then you can't be able to see it on Google. You might see it on Google as an image on Google Images, which is amazing. But for someone to consider that image and turn that into an actual product they could think transactionally is where the difference lies. Because when you have a website that is e-commerce friendly, whether it's e-commerce, I'm sorry, WooCommerce, whether it is Shopify, whether it's Wix stores, there's any other, websites that are out there like Duda as well. They have Duda shopping. Go ahead, Brian.
Oh, I'm sorry, I just clicked that by mistake, but that's okay. So, most people don't know this, but Google Shopping is almost like, a little bit like Amazon, right? I don't want to say it's exactly like Amazon, but it's almost like an Amazon because, again, when you open up your own Google Merchant Center account, which is absolutely free, if you have any product, I mean, you're on the major search engine, right? So if somebody searches for, whatever product it might be, cat, I don't want to say cat litter, but if somebody, searches for a product that they are looking for, all they got to do is just click on that shopping tab. And most people think, search engine optimization, they think that, okay, when you type it in Google, it's that search engine result page that just lists everything. But if you look closely at the top of Google, you see a whole bunch of tabs up there. And you as a marketer or you as a business owner, when you want to be in one of those tabs, right? So when you go to Google, you type something in, you see the all tab, you see the images tab, you see the videos tab, you see the shopping tab, you see the news, the web, the forums, you see books, maps, flights. Google is such a huge search engine that it kind of separates all of these searches under these tabs. And for you, since we're talking about shopping, you're going to appear under that shopping tab. And there are ways to do this, ways to get to the top and optimize for search, even in that Google Merchant Center. And again, it's totally, totally, totally for free. Like today, I'm shopping for an MV7X podcast microphone, right? I want this microphone, and I'm looking at all of these different types of microphones. And as soon as I put this in, I see podcast microphones on the all tab, and that's just like a everything all mixed into one. But if I want to focus in on the shopping tab, here I go, boom, and it comes up with everything that is Shure Podcast XLR microphone. And you can even, whittle this thing down by price. You can whittle it down by, high to low. And for you as a marketer, coming back to you as a marketer, as a shopper, this is great. But for you as a marketer, you have total reign over what appears in this shopping search engine. And it's absolutely amazing, what you can do within this. So hopefully we get into a lot of detail about this because it's such an awesome tool that I worked with about 2 years ago and had a client who's just like their money shot through the roof, you know, selling products. You can even get loco on here too. So hopefully we get into all that today because it's exciting stuff.
Oh yeah, we are. We got time today. And welcome, Julie. Welcome, Julie. And welcome as well. Eman, I haven't heard from you. Eman and Julie, are you available? Hidden. Anyone? I don't know
Um,
if you guys are available. Anyone could go.
I was just gonna add on to what Brian
Everybody.
was
Hey,
saying
Julie.
about. Sorry, Julie. Go ahead, ladies first.
Well, thank you. I was just saying hello, everybody. That's it.
I was just gonna add on to what Brian was saying though, like he said. But you could use the alphabet soup method. You can go instead of you going straight to Google, you can go to shopping.google.com. But you can use the alphabet soup method, and like he said, he's doing podcasts. You could just put podcast spacebar A and see what it gives you. And then you could do it all the way down through the alphabet. But also, if it's not a big brand, people search for they search for the product and not the brand so much. So just something to take heed to. So a lot of people search for like what you say, streetwear. You might say streetwear instead of an actual brand. So just dwindle it down in the ways like that.
Yeah, it's definitely there's a strategy to this, and if anybody wants to achieve this strategy, you need a website. That's the first thing. You need a website if you want to achieve this success that we're talking about. You need to have a website and it's a website that's e-commerce friendly. Because if it's not e-commerce friendly or e-commerce optimized, then you're not doing e-commerce SEO. Why am I saying e-commerce SEO? It's because there are things called product tag sitemaps and there are product sitemaps. You know, there are sitemaps that take care of different things. So when you now have a website submitted to Google, if you have an e-commerce website, your dashboard looks different from someone who has a portfolio website. There's a difference because we work with both product and service and also brick and mortar too. So when you have a Google console, a search console, on the left side is going to talk about product snippets. So product snippets are free for you to put on Google, like Brian is saying. But for them to be showing up on the Google search, you have to connect your product tags and your product sitemaps to your post sitemaps. So a product sitemap is a product list of your inventory where your products are curated, right? Price, name, description, size, shipping, everything, tax, anything that you need to put there, you know, payment integrations. Then when you have a payment structure like that, then that is something that also goes back into your website. Because when you have product schema, especially for platforms like if you have, let's say, if you sell products and you use Pinterest, you're going to have a verified blue merchant badge, right? Because it means that you're a verified merchant and it means that you sell products, whether it's ebooks, whether it's socks, whether it is, white papers. You could even be selling reports of your business, your podcast quotes, whatever it is, just turn it into an asset that you can create as a shoppable product. But you have to have a website that has e-commerce SEO. So when you have that, you're creating your website to now build interest for the searcher, right? Because there's producers and there's consumers, there's demand and there's supply. So if it's on demand, it's because somebody wants to get this now before, while stocks last. That's because everything is, a deal now. So if you want to be part of that conversation, then you also want to look at what's out there. So case in point, if you have a brand, let's say you sell um let's say you sell air fryers. Yeah. Let's say you sell air fryers and that's what you do. Now, if you go to Google Shopping right now and type in, you can do this. I put the link in the chat. You can type in air fryer. Now, before I even hit enter, I hit spacebar and I see air fryer toaster oven. I see air fryer ninja. I see air fryer liners. I see air fryer oven. I see air fryer Walmart. I see air fryer chicken wings. I see air fryer baskets. I see air fryer with stainless steel basket. Now, those are different types of results. So if you fall in any of that category, let's say I want to use air fryers for chicken wings, right? I'm going to click on the chicken wings option and then I'm going to get compact air fryers under 4 quarts. I'm going to get medium air fryers. I'm going to get multifunctional. I'm going to get all products, right? On the left side, this is the most important part of today's topic, today's room. The left side, if you don't have that side, it's the section where you have to refine your results. When you look at those things, that's where you're able to know what kind of content that you can produce because Google loves numbers. So if you work with numbers and you're really doing them in a way that actually meets the needs of the consumer, then you're going to meet the right people. We talk about this a lot in the SEO mastermind. Your creativity for building interest in the consumer that has no idea of your product has to come from answering a question that they have in demand or on demand, right? So if I'm looking for air fryers that can, fry chicken wings in 10 minutes, then I'm going to look for the one that has more power consumption, right? So I'm going to say, okay, I'm looking for the ones that are over 1500 watts. So I'm going to now choose that and I'm going to change my search. Now, if I do that, then I start looking at the brands that are already selling these products on Google. Now, here's the thing. If you have a product, I'm just using air fryer. So put your product, and replace the air fryer. If you have a product and you do the same thing and you know exactly what kind of power consumption your product has, what kind of material it is it velvet? Is it cotton? Is it spandex? You start to do those things and get to know exactly what your ideal audience looks like. As soon as you do that, you look at the stores, right? This is the catchphrase here. The stores. If you look at the stores, like right now, the stores I'm seeing that are top four, there are many more stores. If I click down, it's going to open up every other store. But Google only prioritizes four: Walmart, Home Depot, Target, and eBay. Now, if I have these four stores, right, my goal is to make sure that these four stores have something to do with my website. I'm trying to improve and increase my brand market share. How do you improve brand market share? By being affiliated with a brand. So how do you affiliate yourself with a brand? Is by connecting with the brand through tagging. So you're tagging, your product tagging. So if you have a product and you sell air fryers, you can say, here are the top five Walmart stores to, buy your air fryers for chicken wings this holiday. Now you have an article including the air fryers that you've seen, because you have to give credit, because it's not just about you. You have to give credit and cite them so that those citations are also credible to search engines, because that's called external linking. Now, internal linking is you putting the product and you say, okay, shop this look, and you have an air fryer on your website, and that's a link that will take them to your page. That's an internal link. An external link will take them to a Walmart page, right? Or to a Target page, whichever brand that your business is. If you're more of a Walmart brand or more of a Target brand, those are the things that you also have to consider. Because when people start searching and finding you in those brackets, those brands start to become your type of affiliation, right? So if somebody sees you and Target, and you always talk about Target, there's a way they're going to consume your brand differently from someone that's consuming it through Walmart. So if you're thinking about your brand, using Google Shopping will help you know what brands are already being talked about. Do you fit that price match? And are you also competitively on an advantage to give someone an experience as opposed to just a Google Shopping click? So we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that. But does anyone want to ask any question or contribute or add anything? Please feel free.
Yeah. You can always, if you're trying to sell a certain brand, you can always go to that brand's website and scroll to the bottom and see if they have an affiliate opportunity that you can sign up for there. And that's a way. And then also, when you're selling on like Amazon and Walmart Marketplace, you have to get what they call ungated to sell those products. So basically, a lot of times the- how you get ungated is you have to buy like at least 10 of the product and get an invoice. You have to submit that to the platform for them to allow you to sell on that platform, because there's a lot of counterfeit products out here too.
That's true. That's another thing, and if you trust a product and you know that this product is going to sell or it does well because you've done your research and it's being shown up as a result, then if you write about it on your website, that also adds your website to the conversation. It adds your domain to the conversation. And that also builds interest over time. And that interest accumulates traffic, it accumulates demand, and then your brand also gets to see more because you're talking about something and it's helping. Like I've seen websites we've started building from scratch, had no SEO, build out the SEO. And when I say SEO, I mean the structure, like the schema, the markup, the like what does a business represent? what is the industry the business is in, because when people search, they're going to search based on branding, but they're also going to search based on non-branding. They won't type in Nike shoes, they'll type in running shoes on Pinterest, but they'll go to, Google to type in Nike deals or Nike coupons or Nike giveaways or Nike something. So the way people type will be so different. When they go to Amazon, they're typing for something different. And Walmart, Apple, Target, Etsy, eBay, Home Depot, uh, the ones that I've mentioned, the others too that you see there. When you look at their search engine optimization, just like Hidden said, it's in an alphabetical order. Google is not in an alphabetical order. It's on demand. But these other platforms are in alphabetical order. So if you look for things with Walmart, it's going to give you a list of things from A to Z. So if you fall in category H or category R, then whatever your brand is, you're going to go from R to RA. Okay, RA, RAB, RAC, okay, RB, RC. So by the time you get your unique identifier number, which is the keyword, because you're going to find that keyword based on the words that you use, the number of words, because your words also have power. It's not just going to be now. It has to strike something that allows someone to take action on. So when you have these products, and these products are put into your website, and you're actually creating these products and affiliating your name with these products, then your brand also gets to get a lot of clicks. Because if somebody is looking for alternatives to something and you are the person that you're giving that information to them, they're going to trust you because you're the one that gave them the first information. So now from that information you first gave them led to the next clue. So if you're giving someone information that's leading them to a desired action, then it will take them to go through consideration processes. So the more you're able to create more pages on your website that say, okay, out of these, pages that I see here, how many results do I like, right? There's one that's stainless steel, the one that's black, the one that's red, the one that's gray. And then you answer those questions in those ways on your website individually. By the time you're done talking about one topic, you've answered the question, you've stated what the problem is, you've defined, frequently asked questions that people normally ask. You're putting images to support it, you're putting statistics to support it, you're putting in even numbers and figures to support it. Those things will help because we're dealing with HTML, hypertext markup language. And that's another way of saying, think about your Microsoft Word when you put bold, italics, underline, changing it from heading, subscript, paragraph, quote, all those things that you see that you click on to make even if it's, aligned to the left or it's justified, all those formats that you're putting on your Microsoft Word is the same way you're putting it on your website. If you have a dissertation paper, if you have a thesis, if you have a research paper, if you have something that's going to have structure, a marketing plan, a business plan, a financial plan, those pages will have indexes. There'll be a table of contents, right? There'll be introduction, there'll be subsegments. That structure that you have to present to show how important it is, that's the same way your website should look. That's the same way your website should look. Because if you're addressing a certain thing, it's it's the logic because you're fulfilling a query. The goal is to fulfill the query. If I write one article and that gives me 10 queries, it means I have 10 new articles to write. Those 10 new articles will give me 10 more queries each article. That's about 10 times 10. So you're compounding interest because you're building attraction marketing. You're building interest. Somebody wants to learn, oh, how do you do this? You have the answer there. Okay, what's this versus that? You have the answer there. Eventually, they'll reach out to you and connect with you, not because you told them that we have something for sale, but it's because we have something to give. And what do we give? We give information, we give value, we give perspective. And then that way you do your research and then you have an informed decision to make. So it's not really about trying to sell on Google Shopping, it's to align yourself with the brand that matches your interest, so that when people do shop with you and work with you and connect with you, you're reaching out to the right people because you started and you planted the right seed, in the beginning. And I like what Hidden said too. It's like the old library system, but it's computerized now. Everything is from A to Z, right? We have 26 letters in the alphabet. We have 12 notes in music, right? That's that, like, those things don't change, right? And it's interesting because my birthday is 26/12 or 12/26. So it's like you think about the structure of things. That date, that number, that theory, it's literally the same. It's a fixed number, right? It's a fixed rate. So if you want to improve your click-through rate on your website, you have to improve the number of words that you have. Your word count is very important, because you can talk about a product and be on Google Shopping, but imagine if you have an article talking about this air fryer, talking about the chicken wings, talking about the products at the store that sell those chicken wings, so that you can use those air fryers for. Like, by the time you get so detailed with your semantics, it gets to a point where Google just has to give you first priority, because you've been able to give Google structure. And that's what Google loves: fresh perspective and structure. And those two things don't go out without being expressed. Iman, would love to hear your thoughts too.
I was actually I wanted to highlight the thing, the part of the fresh perspectives. Why? Because Google loves green content, regardless how many articles are there about the same thing. Everybody, you can still put your own perspective, and that's why, Favor, I do advocate for, even if you're using ChatGPT or whatsoever AI tools that is available for you out there, you gotta put your own perspective, do a revision, change the structure, because one aspect that people don't really think about, it's okay to have uh, AI written article, but it's not okay to put it out there as is, because it's gonna destroy your SEO. And I don't know if people really take notice of this point or not, but you have to change, to do revision, to do refining for your articles that you are putting as fresh perspective before you put it out there, because that's another thing that not a lot of people just take notice of it. I don't know what you think about this. Over to you.
Thank you, Iman. You're right. The intention is huge. That's why Amazon does so well, because they talk about, oh, if you buy this now, you're gonna get it tomorrow. Yeah, why not? I don't have to wait for 14 days to get this. Yeah, sure. Because they know that the speed is involved. If that speed is delayed by a second, by a millisecond, it's going to ruin the bottom line. It's going to adjust the bottom line. It's going to refine the bottom line. So it's very important to look at these things too, as a business, because if you have a product that you're selling and you have a website, on your Google Search Console, you're gonna have three tabs, three subsections. One is product snippets, the second one is merchant listings, and the third one is shopping tab listings. Those are three different types of listings, right? Because if you have your products on Google Search Console, then you can also see what products are showing up on Google Shopping, if that makes sense. Because the Google Shopping tab listing is not random. It's based on information. It's based on expertise. It's based on experience, authority, and trust. So if you really want to do affiliate marketing, or you want to do Amazon affiliates, and do this really well, or include your product or create your product for your website, then when you have the shopping tab listing on your Google search, you can also get to see the products that are doing well on actual Google pages. because you can see everything. You can see the country, you can see the device, you can see the page, you can see the query, you can see the date, you can see all those things because it's your intellectual proprietary information. So you have ownership to that right to know what's going on my website. So when you look at those three tabs will give you three different things. I want to break them down a little bit so that you can see what this means on the outside, because you can see Google Shopping as a consumer, but from the technical side, this is not where the details now have to be applied. Now, when you look at your product snippets, right? Product snippets have important things to look out for. The first thing a product snippet is very cautious of is your reviews. Reviews. Like let's ask a question to Chad, right? If you saw a product on Google Shopping and one said 5 star, 80 people ordered this, and then you see another one that says 4.5 stars, 2,000 people ordered this, which one would you pick? Anyone can go put it in the chat. Somebody can on mic. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Well, which one would you pick between the two, and why?
I
Well,
would pick the one of with higher reviews. Absolutely,
well,
that's the first.
you got to break it down a little bit more too, because the 5 star reviews had less customers give reviews. So of course, with the numbers, it's going to show a higher percentage as opposed to the other person. They had more reviews, but it has less stars. But some of those people that gave a little, it might be petty stuff that they gave them a little lower review for. So now also in Google, you can find out the words you need to use in reviews to get a higher engagement. So and then also that the rich snippet, like you said, that gives a lot of information to the user. If you set that right, it actually helps you and rank it more so than the actual keyword.
Exactly. You can rank for keywords, but if you rank for structure, you're gonna get first place every time. I put a link in the chat that's going to take you to a Google developers page that talks about product snippets. Because Google looks at products, they look at reviews, they look at offers. If you have a Google business profile and you have a brick and mortar, then on your business profile, there should be offers there around this time because people are looking for offers. They're looking for Groupon discounts. They're looking for deals. They're looking for cashback rewards. They're looking for rebates. They're looking for things that they can, get. If they have points, can they redeem their points? How do you create loyalty point programs on your website? There are websites that we can use that for and create that to do for your business to get more activity. Because the goal of your website is not just to make sales. Yes, that's the ultimate goal, but you also want to build a relationship. You want to establish a connection. You want to connect a little further. So that's where those things happen. Right now you're getting all kinds of emails because of the offers that are going on today. So reviews are very, very important. That's also going to set you apart. Another thing too is your ratings, your aggregate ratings, right? How do you have your ratings? Like, what is priority on the list to you? How are you able to know what's more of in a priority on the list between 1 to 5? Is it something that you want to do? Is it something that's going to give people more willingness to know, okay, this is what you actually offering them? What is the thing that's catching their eye? What are the focuses that you have to look out for? Now, when you look at the merchant listing as well, that one is very deep because you can have, and this is also kind of going into Pinterest in a way, because when you have a verified merchant badge, it's a blue badge. On Pinterest, you get two badges. You get a blue badge, you get a red badge. You get a blue badge if you are a verified merchant, you get a red badge if you're a verified creator. So you have either or. You can have both. So as a verified merchant, you need to also, comply. with the guidelines that are given to you on Pinterest and also Google too. So because Google Shopping and Pinterest Shopping are kind of like 5 and 6, they have the same rules, right? So if you look at your merchant listings, you need to have things like the name of your brand, right? Because if your brand is not there visibly as an object type, that's what they call an object type, then people will not see it. Your shipping details that goes into your offers, right? Your merchant return policy, your description, your delivery time, your shipping rates, your shipping destination, right? The country that you allow shipping to. Do you do international shipping? Is it local shipping? Is it regional shipping? Is it like where does that fall in? And those things have to be put into your product. So it's not just uploading your image, renaming the file, putting your alt text. That's great, but the structure involved. Because if that structure is not there, then people will not even consider your product because it's not within that normal eye view level. So using those three product snippets, merchant listings, and shopping tab listings are three important places to be on Google Shopping today. So if you go to your Google Shopping, if you go to the link in the chat and you scroll up a little bit, you will see where I put the google.com/shopping. When you go there and you use your phone, for example, the first thing you see is they'll ask you, let's make it personal. Select your interest for a shopping feed designed with you in mind, and it will say get started. So it's going to ask you, what are your shopping interests? Do you like fashion? Do you like home decor? Do you like gardening? Do you like tech? Do you like pets? Do you like gaming? Do you like, baby stuff? Do you like cooking? Do you like outdoor events? It's going to ask you for your interests. That's the same thing that happens on Pinterest. Before you start shopping or before you even have an account on Pinterest, they'll ask you to choose your interests. Why? Because they're collecting data. That data may look like you're just clicking boxes, but on the back end, that's intelligence. That's click rate. That's information that's going to help you move the needle. So when you start choosing your interests, think about the consumer and then think about where your product falls in between those categories. Because if Google has listed fashion as the primary interest, then what is the secondary interest? Is it menswear? Is it accessories? Is it, women's loungewear? What is it? So when you start looking at the subcategories of that primary category, then you can start to see where your business falls in. So those things allow you to get more exposure, and then when you start creating commercial articles during the holiday season, that's when you start getting more attraction because people are looking for comparison right now, this versus that. So if you have a product and you have a website, create articles that will actually show interest. Don't tell them this is what our business is. They've been trying to hear that all year and they've probably heard it already. Now your goal is to let them know why you're the person to go to, why you're the person they want to listen to, why the person that they want to buy from. Then that's when you start sending them those messages, telling them that you have an article that explains this. This is what we have. This is the differences that we have. Like if you click the link above, that will give you an example of what I'm referring to. You'll see all the prices, you'll see all the details. You get to ask more questions. If you need more information, it's all there. So this is where you start to build interest because that's when those pages turn into you know, traffic that you can actually qualify. Because if you have that also on your website, then you're able to know what people are coming for. Because not every web page you have on your website is going to be clicked at the same time. Some pages may get more traffic than others because you talked about more things in a more opportune time than another thing. So it's really dependent on how you show up online and what you're using on Google for your interests. So Google Shopping is very important to look at those things. When you know what your interests are, then it starts giving you, more details. Then when you keep scrolling down all the way down, if you keep going down on your page, you start seeing different things, different titles. So when you start looking at those titles, look at how they've written those things, right? Because we kind of look at them every day, but we don't really think about them. One thing I will say when it comes to shopping, the call to action would require, I would say, not really arrows, but don't just put a button that says buy now or shop this look or discover without putting like an arrow sign. or like a greater than sign or something that's going to give them that prompt to click. Because when someone sees a button and they don't see an arrow, I mean, you can still get a click because it's a button, but you want that action to be faster because people are processing it at a faster rate. So when you start adding emojis, start adding arrows, start adding symbols, when you look at a stop sign, you know what that stop sign means. So you don't have to process it because you're already aware. So when you now have arrows and symbols that really give you that call to action, then it's a no-brainer. It's something that is already like innate. It's technically there because it's been it's been done over and over. It's a point where it's second nature. So when you look at the Google shopping in that way, look at it as how people are shopping. Even if you want to ask, okay, how do I price my products? Go to Google Shopping and put your product there and then see how they actually put their products under $80, $80 to 150, 250 plus. You start seeing that because when people start shopping, they'll start shopping based on those varieties. And if you fall within those varieties and your prices are based on schema back into your website, then that also gives your website a chance to get successful into those ranges too. So schema is one of the most underlooked and underrated things, but that's the major thing that's going to make or break your website, especially when it comes to shopping online. So looking at the shopping tab, not just from, oh, what is on there as a product, find out why are they there, because there are a lot of products on Amazon. Why is it this one on Amazon that's showing up? There are a lot of products on Target. Why is it this one that's showing up? Do they have a website attached? Did somebody write an article about it? Were they on the news for something? Did something happen with that brand in the past? Those are questions that you start asking, and then you now track back. Then the more you're able to track back, you're able to know, okay, here are the brands that are more inclined to what we're looking out for, because that's what people are looking into. When they're shopping, they want to learn, okay, is this what we need? What does the color feel like? When you look at colors, it plays a big role into your shopping too. If you see different colors, those colors are going to make you feel some type of way. If you see a blue suit, if you see a red suit, if you see a red dress, if you see a blue dress, it's going to have a different play because you know that, okay, I can wear this for that. I can wear this in the evening. I can put this on with that, because you start thinking about what you can do with it before you even have it, right? There's Myron Golden said this in a really good way. When you look at how the world was created too, right? There are three things that we have to do here on earth, right? We have to be, we have to do, so we can have. If we aren't who we are, then we can't do what we need to do to have what we need to have done. So it's like I'll call it a three-way street because there's an intersection. And in this intersection, if you look at it like a Venn diagram illustration, how do you match your interest to match somebody else's interest within your capacity to deliver? Because Google Shopping is available for everyone to use, but not everyone is going to shop on Google. That's another thing too. Not everyone's going to shop directly on Google. People go to Google to search. But if your product now shows up there and you have an article, that allows them to have a deeper connection with you, as opposed to just, oh, that's the price, those are the reviews. Okay, we'll go about our day. So there's a level to creating that connection within building those systems as well. Does anyone shop on Google? Like you stay on Google till you're done, till you check out? Does anyone do that? Brian?
My wallet's empty, so that answers that. Yeah, I'm always shopping on Google, always for the best price. I love that little feature on the side where it's like, okay, this is the range I want to pay, and then I end up finding these really good deals that are like three, $30, $40 less, which is awesome.
So Google is a data aggregator. So like you said, it's a reference point. So Google's job is to pull, or they're reputation based. So their job is to show you the most reliable thing that's matching with your search query. But so basically, if they send you to anybody, their reputation is going to be hurt because if they can send you to some, that's why people are on, 10 page 10 of Google and not page one. Because the people on page one, they they match up to what most users are inquiring about. So they showing Google, yeah, this is what we do. That's why they end up higher ranked people than the people that's on page 10 because they're not willing to do the things to show that they're reliable. They might show a little bit, but that's why Google don't show those people ahead of the others. And like that's why Google makes the money they make because they know how to match things up to based on reliability.
That's the keyword right there. Reliability. Without that reliability, there will be a stop in the motion, and that stop will stop someone from doing what they were planning to do, and that will slow down. That's why I think the most expensive place on the internet is
Page 10.
actually no, the abandoned cart. The abandoned
Yeah,
cart.
that's why I said the FU money earlier. The follow up. Most people don't follow up.
Yep, 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 yep. Because that's where that's where that's where things happen. Because people kind of forget to complete an action because they get distracted. But if that abandoned cart is not abandoned, it's already abandoned. It's called an abandoned cart. But if you're able to cater to that cart and tell people about what's in that cart, then they'll feel more relaxed and they'll feel less tense about what they're getting. Because sometimes if people don't know what they're getting, they're not going to get it. So it's that connection that you have to build as well. So I love that we talked about that, and it's good to look at Google Shopping a little differently too. Hey, Coach Kelly, welcome to the room. Happy Friday. We'd love to hear your question, thoughts, anything you have in mind. What are you thinking when you came into the room?
Well, hello. Thank you so much for welcoming me into the room. I'm actually publishing or setting up my next set of posts for my next episode that'll be out on Tuesday. So this is a timely room for me. Um, I guess the only question that I have, one that came up, and I've been kind of juggling with this. I tend to do too much, I want to say, number one. And so this is why I'm like, I don't know if I want to do it or not. But for my previous podcast, I had its own separate website for it. And I really love that website. I love how the podcast, is displayed on it, all that kind of stuff. This time, again, I'm trying to keep things a little bit simple. And there is like within the template of my website, there is a place for podcasts. It just doesn't, I think, display it as pretty as I would like it to. So I guess my question here is, would you do a separate website just for the podcast? Um, and then maybe a separate like Instagram, or is it okay? Like right now it's on my personal business website, and my personal Instagram. So would you separate it or would you keep them together?
Great question. It's interesting you've asked this because this is the third time in the basic SEO room this week. The third time. This is actually interesting because somebody asked this question on Wednesday, somebody asked this question yesterday, and now you've asked this question today. So this is good for me to know what people are thinking about, what people need, because it's a need that needs to be fulfilled. So thank you so much, Coach Kelly, for letting me know and letting us know too. Now, when I think about podcasting, initially, like for me, I'll just give you like what I did initially. When I started my podcast, with the website, and then I had a dedicated page, like a, domain/podcast. And that's where I was getting all the RSS feed into that page. Now, the only problem with this is that those pages, because it's on an RSS feed, yes, they're creating multiple pages, but it's also playing a role into how I can show up as a different entity from my business. Because if you have a podcast, your podcast should have a parent company. and that parent company could be your business. So if the podcast is where you're having conversations, it's where you have brand partnerships, it's where you're able to build relationships with your community, then that's where things change. Because for me, I decided, hey, instead of me just having my podcast on a page, why not create its own domain and let it run its own course? Because you now have two properties. Instead of fixing two houses on one plot, you have two houses on two different properties. So you have one domain property bringing you the traffic. That website is linking people to your other website, which has a podcast, and then the podcast is people linking people back to your website. So when you go on Apple, on Shopify, sorry, on Spotify, we talk about Shopify a lot. On Spotify, you create an awareness for them to see your show website, and then your show website now becomes a page people get to see. Then under your show website, you now have your parent company, which will now be your actual website. So if you already have a current website, I would say keep that and then have a second website with a second domain. So it'll be like your website or your podcast name.com. And you can create pages from there using, platforms like Podpage. You can use on Podium. You can use, different platforms to create that as well. Now, it's a technical SEO piece that's now going to get really, tricky. But if you're doing it correctly from the jump and you've connected all the right things, you should be good to go, and there shouldn't be any problem as well.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I think I was like, as I said, I like the original, I like the podcast website that I have. Um, I just love the way everything is displayed on there, but I was just trying to keep things simple. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm just um, complicating it by having a website here and a website there and all that kind of stuff. But I do like the idea of creating a website specifically for the podcast. So, it might be another side adventure I take in the next little bit, building that out.
No problem. It's not a hard thing. I feel like podcast websites are not really hard because you're connecting your RSS feed. So it's creating its own pages. So if like for you now, if you look at your hosting platform, like let me just instead of me guessing, what platform do you use for hosting?
I'm using Anchor, but the website that I would have is like I have a whole WordPress website, and it would just feed into there. So that's the one I'm thinking about, doing like building up and making that the official website.
Okay. So with that website, then if you're building out the content from there, that's good. What I was asking, what platform you're on is because if you have the WordPress site, then the RSS feed you're going to connect to that plugin when you have your page for your podcast. The pages that your website will start creating would be coming from the titles of your episodes from your Anchor, from Spotify for Creators. So when you're making your titles in the podcast description box, those places are the most vital places because when you submit your podcast to all the directories, anything that's within those boxes is what is being received on those third party sites. So if you want to maintain and keep creating that relationship between your website, the podcast, and the directories that are third party platforms, then they all have to have the same, links. And then if you go to YouTube, that starts to happen too. So it's, structuring them all together. But if you want to start off that way, it's also possible. It's just, when it's time to scale, like how would you want to do it so that it's also not hurting your website technically, when people start to search for it. Brian, did you want to add something too?
No, I mean, I just was going to say that the more Google juice, the better, right? So, what most people, podcasters, over the years, when I've been podcasting, is that that sole site for your podcast not only is good Google juice, but it's good for your audience, it's good for your listeners. It does so much in establishing credibility, loyalty, and on the back end it builds links, backlinking, et cetera, et cetera. So a dedicated podcast page is super smart thing to do. And then little small pages here and there. You don't want to like keyword stuff either, right? Like one thing that I got into a lot of issues when I was building my podcast over the past 19 years. And one thing that I really got, I wanted to be everywhere on Google, and I would always, kind of get tagged for keyword stuffing. You want to blog on your podcast page as well, your dedicated podcast website. You want a blog where you can also, put content up there, audio content as well as textual content so you can consistently, appear in search. So yeah, dedicated WordPress site is a good idea. I wouldn't recommend WordPress at this point. I mean, I'm kind of in like panic mode right now because of what's going on with WordPress, and that's probably a bigger conversation. But it's probably something that we can talk about later. But just to keep the answer simple, dedicated page for your podcast, super smart, build up some credibility, some loyalty, and in the background, you're collecting backlinks, you're being optimized for search, audio to text, text to audio, do it all. It's an awesome idea.
Awesome. Thank you.
I got a favor. What you think about like a funnel, kind of like a book funnel? So like like a book funnel, you give like an excerpt or like a chapter one preview, and then hey, you want to read the rest or you want to listen to the rest? Click here and take them over to the right to the podcast, and that's interlinking. Like Brian was saying, building links. You don't have to necessarily build out a complete full WordPress website, but you can make like a funnel. And you could just every episode or whatever, you could put a little excerpt of and say, hey, you want to listen to the rest? Go over to the podcast, and you just link it over to your anchor podcast, and that'll drive traffic to it. So
Yeah, that's a good idea too. Like you're talking like a redirect. So if you buy the domain name, mypodcastname.com, and then you redirect it over to your anchor site, that's a good idea too. I mean, the big thing about having a dedicated website for your podcast is just to establish credibility, authority, trust. Because you don't want to be like in your podcast going, yeah, visit our website at, mypodcast.anchorfm.com/, 9275.html. Visit us there. You want to have dedicated, domain name. You look and sound authoritative. Your stuff is great, and in the end, it's not quick fix, but you're building up backlinks, and people are just, going to your site, and it just establishes a lot of credibility and trust.
Exactly. Like that's just the best way to put it because you can have your website, as one thing, but if you have your podcast on another platform, then it just saves you time in the long run because you're also looking at this as an investment, right? You're thinking about your time, what you're doing, where you're getting traffic from, where you're building, and then what your goal is for your show. If your show is, going to get that traffic, how's that also going to build into your framework? Because it's also one thing to have a podcast show that has a website and also have a podcast show that actually attracts podcast subscribers because you can get an Apple subscriber, a Spotify subscriber, but Apple and Spotify have that information. You don't. And if you don't, then you won't be able to know how to connect with them apart from the one-way channel that's accessible. So to create that two-way channel, it's also to allow them to opt in and say, hey, I also want to listen to your podcast. Because someone that's listening to the podcast may be considering something in the future. So that's like a really good way to show that thought leadership and then to build that relationship over time, as opposed to them coming to your website and then trying to find your podcast in the process and then get lost and then sign up and but before you know it, 30 seconds has gone, when they could have just signed up in the first 5 to 10 seconds and opted in. What do you think, Coach Kelly?
Okay, so my question here then, I guess, and I don't know if I'm really asking the same question all over again, but if I already have, like, my current website is kellyriley.ca, and then there's a slash podcasts, right? And so right now I've got my podcasts where I can feed everything there. I think I can do the keywords, like I can do all kinds of stuff and put a lot of information in there. So build traffic, it brings people to my personal business website, the coaching website, which the podcast is really like I want to share stories, but it's stories of pivoting, which is exactly what I'm coaching on. So to me, I guess based on what you and Brian were just really saying, is like, does it really matter to have the pivotplaybook.com or, kellyriley.ca/podcast or /the pivot playbook? Like, does it do the same thing, or I should specifically have the pivotplaybook.com?
I would have the pivotplaybook.com, and where it says podcast, you could use this is what I would do. I would use the blog section and the podcast section together because I see you. I'm actually on your site right now. I see you have the blog section and then you have the podcast section. So for the podcast section, there's a pivot playbook, there's Biz Behind Beauty, and then there's all podcasts. So are those two different podcasts? Just before I go ahead.
Yeah, the Biz Behind Beauty is one that I had forever ago. And then the Pivot Playbook is the new one that I'm doing.
Okay. Just wanted to be sure. So with the pivot playbook, this should have its own website because if if it has its own website, then it can live its own, it can take its own course. And because you have this right now, I believe that you'd have to create, correct me if I'm wrong, but you'd have to create a page for this episodes, or is it, automatically taken through the RSS feed?
I'm still trying to figure that out. I know I can import through the RSS feed, but when I tried to do it the last time, it like I feel like it imports every episode every time I press the import button. So I'm trying to figure out if there's a way that it will just import the most recent one. But yeah, it pulls everything from the RSS feed once I do the import.
Okay, because that's what I was thinking too. Because looking at the pages, they look like you would have to create them. And what we want to do for the pivot playbook is to have a dedicated page or a dedicated domain that's site wide and domain wide, page wide, pulling our websites and content that's able to show up as an individual page on Google. Because if it shows up as an individual page on Google on its own, then that's one page, that's one topic, that's one interest, that's one impression, that's one count, that's one person. So when you now double down on the number of episodes, then if you have 200 episodes, that's 200 links, and the more links you have, the better. So every episode you publish, you know that inventory wise, intellectual property wise, you have a new page that has 24 months leverage of, media coverage. So if you think about it that way, it changes the way you now do it as opposed to just trying to get the website going with the podcast section, because the podcast could live on its own and then you can have two results. So your kellyriley.ca could be doing a summary or maybe like an editor's note or maybe let's say podcast host notes, like you can have a director's cut for a movie, do something like that, make it more exclusive, give that brand and that experience. And then if you have a website that's just dedicated to the podcast on its own, then that's where you can show and give them an experience outside your business so that when they now listen to the podcast, they also can listen to podcasts knowing that the business, Kelly Riley is sponsoring the Pivot Playbook. So that way, when people hear you, they also know, okay, there's a brand here and there's also brand partnership involved, which now creates opportunities for monetization, sponsorship, and all that good stuff. So you're not stuffing everything into one turkey, if I can put it like that. You're just putting things into different places that gives more avenue for growth as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it does. And I appreciate that. I mean, like I said, the website I have for Biz Behind Beauty, like I love it, and I've been considering to just copy that website and make it for the Pivot Playbook. But now you've just kind of given me the like I'm gonna go ahead and do this. And I guess for me, it's really gonna be figuring out how to link these things in a way that it's not redundant through all the websites, I guess, but also that doesn't take a lot of work, I think, to have it here, there, and the next place. So, but I do love the idea, like I said, of having a separate website. So, like I said, a whole new side project.
Yeah, so totally agree about the separate website. I know that, over the years, I've done so many podcasts, and the ones that got the most download, like I do so many podcasts and put them on like my personal branding website, right? I'd have everyone kind of visit that website and listen to it, and then it kind of branched off on its own. And I notice it's kind of, that's kind of what's happening here. I'm actually on your website, Kelly, and taking a look at your podcast, and I'm gonna be blunt. I'm kind of confused. Like, what podcast am I supposed to be listening to here? Like the Pivot Playbook, the Biz Behind Beauty. There's a lot of podcasts, and the one that you're getting the most listens on, or the one that you really want to focus on and strengthen, going off on its own website and its own branch of your brand, is the best thing to do. I like I said, when I was doing podcasts, and I still do podcasts, if there's one that's getting tons and tons of listens, that one would just that would generate its own income and be monetized on its own. I would build this entire website with it. And I'm looking on GoDaddy, and Pivot Playbook is .ca. It looks like it's available right now. So I would suck that up
I'm on
and,
site
and
ground as we speak.
yeah, and buy it and just go for it and commit to it. And because I listened to a little bit of the podcast, and I'm actually going to listen to more because I'm kind of interested. But yeah, dedicated website, go all out, commit to it, just not to confuse your listener, because that trust, that loyalty is going to be built, and that is so much more valuable than any optimization for search that you ever do. So if you go out on your own, that's going to lay the foundation for that to happen. That trust and credibility and authority.
John, please, we'd love to hear from you too, what you think, so that Coach Kelly also has that perspective as well.
The one thing everybody said is, look, Coach Kelly's time is the one thing we have, and you know this, that we can't replace, we can't create more of. So I use Pod Page, and I have a domain name LET Radio, and it's hooked up to that account, and it automatically imports. I do my episodes, my podcasts through Omni Studio, so Omni Studio creates a page. And it's okay when I do the import, I can make different changes in the keywords in the pod page one, but it does it all quick and easy. It's really time saving. And it doesn't cost a ton of money. So the big benefit for me has been SEO tools. And the reason I'm bringing it up is there's nothing wrong with Google or any other search engine indexing you at different locations. You stand to benefit by having, and the whatever the show you want to do, you stand to benefit from having matching domain names, matching the show name, matching your social media, all that stuff as well. But the caveat to that whole process is time, because that's the one thing we can't create more of. So make it as streamlined as possible and reap the results. Thank you.
Thanks for that.
Thank you so much, Coach Kelly. I hope that helped, everyone else that would listen to this, because it's very helpful to know, websites that have podcasts or podcasts that have a website. There's a huge difference between those two. It's like a slim difference, but it makes a whole different experience because people are listening to your website. And speaking of websites, if you want your podcast to rank on Alexa or Siri or be a topic of interest, then you need to have a page that Siri can pull from. You have to have a page that Alexa can pull from, and that's coming from your website. So when that site structure is also there, it also gives you that longevity because you're able to cover a wider range. So these are good things to think about too. We really covered this topic today. I'm glad we have on Google Shopping. Try it out if you have a business and do this, connect the dots make people want to connect back with you, and that way you can actually build intentions by, connecting with them, being more intentional. How do you show up? Where do you show up? And then that now allows them to learn about your brand, because you may talk about a topic the first time, the second time, but eventually if they keep hearing you talk about the same thing, they'll eventually want to learn more about how they can connect with you further. If they don't know, then they can do some research, because that also gives them an insight into your world too. So for those who are listening, try Google Shopping, see how it works for you, and you can build that out long term. So we'll start off with you, Kelly. Ladies first. What is your big takeaway for the room? And give people insights on how they can connect with you, and then we can go to John, Hidden, and Brian.
Well, I guess my big takeaway is just build the dang website and get that all started up. So I'm literally on site ground right now, purchasing my domain, and that'll probably be my project this weekend and get that all started. Yeah, so I think that's my big thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Kelly. John.
Yeah, the takeaway I have for Coach Kelly and other people is that use the tools available to you. And while there's nothing, I can build websites, but look, I can't have the time to do the hosting, the bandwidth issues, all that stuff, the updates. So really, time management is really important. That's why for me. And by the way, the Elite program with Podpage Pro, I think is 300. Was Podpage is like $300 a year. That includes Yoast SEO tools. They have a level below that, the Pro version, which will do pretty much everything you need. But it's quick and easy. You can pick out the template you want. You can modify the colors. You can do everything else, and it automatically import everything by your RSS feed. You don't have to do anything. So for me, it's about saving time as much as possible. The one caveat I would give is make sure you have different keywords um, on your website as compared to your pod page site. So you're not doing what Brian had, where you had keyword stuffing. But the thing is saving as much time as possible. I'm curious about learning more. And by the way, the IMDb process Favor is going really well on Wikipedia. We hope to have confirmation about that sometime next week. So everything's going well, man.
Exciting. Wow. Yeah, I have a good feeling like, December would just really set the tone for 2025. This is good. This is so good to hear. I'm excited about the new year and what's coming. There's so many good things that we're going to be able to experience. And, Clubhouse is great. And I'm glad that we're taking action today. Thank you so much for that update, John. Brian, any last thoughts?
Yeah, great conversation as always in the marketing club. I know it started out as basic SEO, talking about Google Shopping, which is, wow, like a huge topic that small businesses should be taking advantage of, because, most of it is all free. And then, always talking about podcasting, which Coach Kylie, and, you know, I guess the takeaway is focus on your stuff, and start with the foundation and just keep building with your own website when it comes to podcasting. So great room as always, Favor. So I am from marketingnerds.ai, which is a brand new podcast that's coming out as far as in 2025. It's going to start actually the end of December and into January. We just put 50 episodes in the can. And we're talking about marketing and artificial intelligence and video production and all that good stuff. And I actually built an entirely new website because the traffic was phenomenal. And I'm thinking, okay, let's monetize this. So you can check me out at marketingnerds.ai. And occasionally I join Favor up on stage and we just geek out. So it's a lot of fun. Thanks, Favor, again for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you so much. And you see, every time we have a basic SEO 101 or marketing room, always something happens. And today we have Coach Kelly officially booking pivotplaybook.ca domain. Okay, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. This is exciting. Yes, when action is taken like this, a lot of people are taking action after rooms that has been done here. People just go, they come back and say, "Oh, we did this, we did that." That's what I love to hear because it's not just me doing it for you, it's us doing it for each other and doing it ourselves so that we can learn how to help other people. Because when you learn something, that's 90% learning acquisition that you can teach somebody else. So that 10% you got from listening can contribute a lot to that 90% as well. So this has been great. Coach Kelly, can't wait to hear more about it. Can't wait to hear all the good stuff that's coming. And if you have any questions, you know where to find us. We're here. Always here to help, always here to support and connect with you as well. For those listening to the replay, thank you for listening. For those here as well live, thank you for listening. And if you have any question, if you want to get on a marketing discovery call with me, please click the link above. We can talk about some really cool stuff and we can see how to take this to the next level. Until then, have a blessed weekend and I'll see you guys in the clubhouse streets.